I know what to do, I just don't do it. Coach, how many times have you heard that sentence in your career? In your 17 years as a coach so far, how many times have you heard that?
If I had $1 for every time, I wouldn't need to be on
You wouldn't
this
be here right now.
podcast, and I'd be on I'd be on a beach. Yeah. How about
Yeah.
you?
Oh yeah. It's, I would say, of all of the challenges that I hear, the people that we work with, people that follow us on Instagram, people listen to this podcast, they don't have a knowledge problem, right? They know
Mm,
what to do, but they just don't do it. Yeah, I
yeah.
hear that a lot. And it comes from very smart, capable, successful people like
Mm,
lawyers, professors, people who work in finance, like intelligent people. They have a lot of knowledge, but they're having a lot of trouble actually taking action and getting this done. Is
hmm.
that the kind of thing that you've seen as well, Coach?
Yeah, it's never an information problem. Information is plentiful. It's often an implementation problem. And when you look at it from that perspective, a common phrase I've used is you can read all you want about riding a bike. You can know how a bike is built, but you're gonna have to get on a bike to ride a bike. And sometimes you need some training wheels to get things going.
Totally. Yeah. And when someone says that, and we then dig deeper, there are typically what I have identified anyway in preparing for this podcast today. There are four reasons that they give for not taking action. Okay, there are four common explanations that genuinely feel true.
Mm,
And on the surface, yeah, okay, it looks, yeah, that looks legit. It looks believable. But then when we break it down and we dig, we come to the realization that it's not actually true. It's it's more of an acceptable story that you land on, that you tell yourself to make the whole situation feel a bit better.
hmm.
So, Coach, what is the what is the first reason that you hear so often?
The one that I hear the most often is people being a bit hesitant or giving pushback on, especially of all things, nutrition. So it's, I know how to eat. And with friends of mine who I've coached and I'm a little bit more abrasive with, I'll tell them, I know you know how to eat. This is the problem. We need to get you into a place where you're eating with a little bit more intention and for purposes of fueling yourself rather than indulging persistently and not being
Yeah,
aware around it. Do you find the same in terms of like first
yeah.
pushback?
So it's like I lack discipline. That would
Mm,
be behind it. Yeah, absolutely.
mm,
And it does feel true because you can actually point to evidence, like as you just said, like you indulge with food even though you know that you maybe shouldn't be in that particular way anyway.
mm,
You have maybe broken promises to yourself in the past. Okay, tonight I'm going to eat in this way, and then you go out and you don't eat in that way. Yeah, for sure. And discipline 100% feels like what is lacking, but I don't buy it. And in my professional experience, it's not a lack of discipline, especially the people that we work with, right? These are people who have just crushed education, they've crushed their career, they have kids, they've the kids have everything that they need. Their kids are loved. They've got a fantastic home life. They have discipline because it takes discipline to do all of those things.
mm,
You do not lack discipline. I don't buy it. The truth is that discipline isn't reliable when you are like stressed, when you're tired, when you're really hungry, when you're overwhelmed, when you're in a rush. And of those things that I just listed, most people are experiencing like any two of them at any given time, right? If you say, I lack discipline, you're saying, this is who I am. And that's a fixed mindset.
hmm.
And it becomes the reason to stop trying. And so if you, and this is the problem with it, right? If you call it discipline, it makes it personal. Whereas it's usually more of a flaw in the plan and is therefore solvable. And I think a lot of people feel this way.
Yeah.
They say they lack discipline. I know what to do, but I just don't have the discipline to do it.
Or they'll often reframe it as, I know me and I know that won't work for me, or I won't be able to do that. And,
I'm just not the kind of person who X, Y, or Z. It's
yeah,
back to that
exactly.
fixed mindset, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And in that as well, it's okay to remind a person if you're, because this happens in our friendships and relationships as well, not just in coaching, right? And
Yeah.
reminding that person, like, hey, didn't you say that you're trying to change that?
Mm.
And letting them know, like, it's okay to change your identity to a degree or take on different characteristics or actions or perspectives based on acquiring new information or having new goals. You're going to have to become the person you want to be. You're going to have to do things that the person you're looking to become does.
And I think so many people feel they have a discipline problem. I've found that in almost all places to just not be true.
Mm.
There's also another thing that people say, like they say, I'm just not motivated. So I know what to do. I'm just not motivated to do it. And again, that can feel true because you have evidence. In the past, you've tried to do something while feeling that spark of motivation, and then the motivation left, and then you stopped trying. Or maybe
Mm.
you just never had that motivation in the first place, so you never started.
Mm. We're going to break down motivation a bit more later in this episode.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
I have a thought on that I'd like to share. So we'll circle back to that.
cool. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big thing to remember with motivation is that it is an emotion. It's a state.
Mm.
And emotions and states are temporary. And it will therefore come and go, just like
Mm-hmm.
any other emotion or any other state. And so a plan that relies on motivation is going to fail because you're not always going to feel motivated. And this also protects your identity because it allows you to think that, oh, if I only had the right emotion, I'd be fine. If I could somehow figure out a way of developing that emotion and maintaining it, I'd be fine. And it stops you from thinking maybe a slightly scarier thoughts that, oh, maybe this plan just doesn't work. You don't want to feel like you've wasted your time, right?
Mm. Time,
And time.
energy, not
Yep.
wanting to be, not wanting to feel like a failure.
Yeah. And when the plan feels like it's a lot, that's most often where I hear that I'm just not motivated to do it. And again, that is also just as common as I just don't have the discipline to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll come back to motivation for sure, coach. I think that's an important thing to think about. There's another one that I hear. Like if I ask somebody about their biggest challenge with this, it's I lack consistency. I'm just not consistent. Is that one that you found as well, coach?
Yeah, that one I think is most interesting because you're consistent. You're consistently doing a lot of things, right? You're consistently doing the things that aren't aligned with your goals, and that's why you never achieve them. And in that itself, there's a degree of consistency there. You don't,
Yeah.
if you're not going to the gym, that's being consistent. You're consistently not going. If you stay up late and watch TV at night or scroll on your phone, that's being consistent. So you have consistency characteristics, just not with the things that are aligned with what you're looking to do.
That's a good point, coach. Yeah. Let's be honest, it is easier to be consistent with the easier choices,
Of
right?
course.
It's always the easy choice to not go to the gym. It's always the easy choice to think, oh, I've got 3,000 steps left to get 7,000. Ah, you know what? I'll just sit on the couch tonight. I don't have to do it now.
Mm.
And this is where I'm inconsistent feels true, right? Because you've got this evidence. You've got the evidence of you do something for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and then you stop.
Mm.
Like you have that evidence. But I think it's not that you're inconsistent, it's that you're consistent with your environment, which goes back to what you were just saying, right, coach? If your environment is set up in a way that makes the easy choices even easier and the harder choices even harder, of course you're not going to be consistent. I wouldn't be.
Mm.
Like if I never had fruits or vegetables in the fridge and the cupboards, if I never had protein, if I always was running out of that stuff, I'm not going to consistently eat protein.
Hmm.
And it can almost feel like a comforting thought, right? As in, oh, I know what's going on. I'm just not inconsistent. And I guess that can be said about any of these reasons that aren't actually the reason. Because having some degree of certainty in understanding what's happening, that's comforting. Uncertainty, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, maybe this is a bit brash to say. However, at some point, these stories are absolving yourself of responsibility to taking action on the things that you're claiming you want. I think it might have been, I don't want to misquote anybody. I remember coming across a podcast that spoke about how if you continue to not achieve your goals, maybe you need to achieve your goals instead of constantly flogging yourself in not achieving them because you're aiming too high.
Again, the plan is the flaw, maybe. Like what
Hmm.
you're trying to do, the things that you think you should be doing, maybe that's the flaw. Yeah. And again, I've heard this so many times. I'm inconsistent. So if you are listening to this, watching this, and you're thinking this about yourself, you're not alone. A lot of people feel like this. And then there's one that I hear a lot, especially from parents, from moms. I'm just too busy. I know what to do. I'm just too busy. And that feels true because you genuinely are busy. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have a job, you have pets, you have aging parents to think about. You have a lot on your plate. You are genuinely busy. And again, you can probably guess what I'm going to say. The challenge isn't that you are too busy. The challenge is that your plan is not it's not been created for somebody with a busy life. You're following the wrong kind of plan. It's a plan that asks you to do too much meal prep, to work out too often, to get too many steps. Right? There's just too much for you to think about. And so when time does get tight, it's the first thing to go. You stop following the plan. It's a case of you're unsuccessfully trying to make life fit your plan. Whereas I think that for somebody who is busy, the plan should fit their life. And let's be honest, that's true of anybody who works with a coach and wants a customized program, a customized plan. We don't have a plan. We don't have a cookie cutter approach with our clients. It's why we take so long to talk to them before we even have them like sign up to start working with us. I want to make sure that I can actually create a plan specifically for you. Is that what you found as well, coach?
I think the challenge with planning is that if you think of the environment in which you're planning something in, okay, you're sitting down, pen and paper, or in a digital way, and you're thinking, okay, what is my goal? I'd like to do this. How do I do that? You come up with the processes associated with achieving that goal. You do all these things, make all these decisions, you make all these promises, and then you put it into the wild. You put it into real life. However, that plan was made at a point in time and in a state where you're calm enough to think about it, where you think this is what can happen or this is what will work. And when you put that plan in action, it's not happening in that same state. It's not the same environment, right? So the action is the plan. And once you have a bit of a framework to understand where the guidelines are in which you can start to execute that plan, you realize where you may have overshot or where you
Mm,
may have more opportunity. So the action that you're taking is the plan. It unfolds and shows itself as you start to implement it.
yeah. There's another issue with the phrase "I'm too busy" or "I'm
Mm.
busy." It's socially acceptable to say it. I hear that every day. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm busy. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Whereas maybe a more truthful statement would be, I'm overwhelmed. I don't trust myself to follow through. I'm afraid I'm going to fail again.
Mhm.
Maybe that's more accurate. And maybe that's why saying I'm too busy like, like is said so often. But I think that being busy isn't the problem. It's more of a stress test. Like, does
Mm.
your plan survive you being busy? If it does, great, it's a good plan. If it doesn't, the plan ain't working. And I think, yeah, this is the most common reason that I hear from parents. especially mums, because let's be honest, mums tend to do more of the running of the household than dads, generally speaking. So not only do mums have to do most of the running of the household, but they also have to work full time. They work just as many hours as their partner. Is that what you found too, Coach? Of the mums that you've worked with, they do more of the running of the household, the organization of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty commonplace and
Yeah.
safe to say and assume. There are there are certain things that each person is going to take on in terms of responsibility in a household. And yeah, moms tend to lean into a lot of that stuff more so than dads. I mean, growing up, my thing was my parents' agreement was mom takes care of everything in the house, dad takes care of everything outside of the house. And, you know, given the time of year, the most that dad has to take care of outside is shoveling and taking out the garbage. So there's
Yeah,
seasons and yeah, adjustments throughout the year too.
absolutely. Yeah. And all four of these explanations, right? The I lack discipline, I'm not motivated, I'm inconsistent, I'm too busy. It's about identity protection, right? They allow you to kind of bridge that gap between knowing and doing in a way that doesn't hurt, I guess we could say, doesn't hurt emotionally to admit. Because if you acknowledge what's actually going on, you'll realize that almost certainly the plan that you have is a problem. And that means acknowledging that, oh, I've been wasting all of these weeks, these months, these years trying to make this happen in the way that I thought it should be done. And that's painful to admit that you wasted time. But there's no growth without discomfort, right?
I had this thought the other day of so we call it like a working out, right?
Mm,
Like I work out.
yeah.
To get to the workout, you have to also work in, which translates to looking inward, asking yourself, am I willing to take on this amount of discomfort? Am I willing to accept a degree of failure or falling short? Because the only time you're really failing is when you're not trying at all. So understanding that you have to commend your effort over the outcome,
Mm,
reassessing your processes and implementing new approaches to things. And in that working in, it allows you then to work out all the challenges that you're having and puts you on this path of self-discovery, because that's what coaching really is, right?
mm,
Figuring out what works for you in a way that's conducive to being able to be aligned with your lifestyle and your goals, and knowing that, okay, I feel like I'm making some traction here and building some momentum and then feeding off of that.
yeah. I mean, Coach, we check in with our clients on a weekly basis. Like,
Mm,
we make sure that, hey, like, is this person able to follow this plan still? Are they
mhm.
doing the things that they agree that they're going to try to do? And then we need to figure out, okay, if they are not following it, is it a problem with the specific plan, in which case we change the approach? Or is there something else happening that we just weren't aware of? And we then need to maybe make a couple of like modifications to the plan. It's also why we keep track of like measurements on a regular basis. Because then
Mhm.
we can think, okay, even if the person is following the plan, is it actually working? So I think it's a good idea to assess more than once every 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, or just not assessing at all. Like, check in with yourself. Like, what is going on? Does this feel like you can keep doing it until you get to the point where you're happy with your results? If not, you got to change something. Is it even bringing the results at all in the first place? Okay,
Mhm.
if it isn't, you got to change the approach. Yeah, there's no point in just kind of keeping your fingers crossed and hoping it works. That's not a plan. Hope is not a plan.
there's there's this thought that I had as well of like, okay, the saying that comes to mind is man never steps in the same river twice, for he's not the same man nor is it the same river. So you're going to be in a position where at some point the plan you came up with is going to get sidelined or derailed because you got a new job, or hey, you found out you're pregnant, congratulations, or hey, you got fired, now what, or you found out your aging parent got sick, or your kid is sick. This is why we do these weekly check-ins with our clients too. We ask,
Yes.
hey, so what are any obstacles you have coming up over the next week? Or hey, what happened last week? It seems like there was a bit of a friction in terms of implementing some of the things we spoke about last week. Okay, cool. How do we pivot?
Yes. great word. How do we pivot? Yeah. How do we keep taking action anyway?
Mm-hmm. There's
Absolutely,
always
coach. Yeah.
something you can do about it.
Totally. Yeah. So, coach, when we do dig deeper, after we've heard one of those four explanations that, yeah, probably aren't the case, I mean, the number four is a common theme today. I've found that there are around four genuine reasons. Let's call them themes because the specific reason is slightly different, but they do fall under the same theme. And the first theme is something that we've already discussed a bunch of times already, Coach. Do you want to go into it? Do you want to start talking about it?
Its title delivers. The plan doesn't fit
Yeah.
real life. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. I'm going to get my workout in. I'm going to have breakfast and track my food and get my water and steps in before the end of the day with all the things that I need to do on top of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
precisely.
But you also have two, one, two, three kids, all these other responsibilities that would suggest that you don't have the space in your life to execute all those things. So you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most plans are designed, well, they're not even designed. Most plans assume you have unlimited time. You're getting awesome sleep. There's never any stress. Essentially, most plans are created with a 22-year-old with zero responsibilities in mind.
Mm.
That's who your typical plan is going to be good for, right? Whereas if you're a parent, you work full time, you get home, it's late, the kids need 100 things immediately as soon as you step in the front door. You're already completely depleted and stressed from a hard day at work. I mean, good luck following a plan that hasn't taken any of that kind of thing into account. Good luck.
Yeah.
And if a plan only works when your life is easy, that's a bad plan because life isn't easy. Life isn't simple. Like shit happens. Life happens. Even something as small as, and it isn't even small, but something that might not be commonly discussed, something like decision fatigue. You get home after a hard day, you've made 100 decisions, your battery's at 2%. Like, you ain't going to work out. You're not going to cook dinner from scratch. You're not going to make a colorful salad with protein and low carb, right? For the entire family to eat. No, you're not. Or even just deciding to do a 10-minute walk. That can feel like as difficult as deciding to do a 2-hour workout in that kind of state. So then what? So the other thing that can deplete your battery is the plan requiring too much complexity. Maybe it's having you waking up early and do a really hard, intense workout that's going to leave you barely focused at work because it took up so much physical energy. You have little left to give work, but you kind of somehow manage to soldier on. Then when it comes to lunch, you haven't thought about bringing your lunch to work. And so you have to go out. You got to figure out a way of like hitting your macros specifically. And you got to go to like 3 different places at lunchtime so that you can get something that you can put together that kind of vaguely hits your macros. Then you got to spend the afternoon super tired because the macros are probably fairly low carb. You get home. As I said, the kids want 100 things immediately when you walk in through the door. You ain't working out in that state. You're not going to go for a walk. You're not going to make a meal. You're going to order some Dominoes. That's what you're going to do.
You're really not selling parenting here.
Parenting isn't the problem there. The problem there is the plan.
I like
The
that.
plan there increased that person's mental load. Okay, it made
Yeah.
life harder. A plan should reduce your mental load.
A lot of these things that you're mentioning and referencing, it all comes down to when you think of your brain's main function, which is to prioritize survival, efficiency,
Yeah,
energy conservation. So, you doing any of those things that require any sort of physical exertion, that's completely out the window. Like, you can definitely bank on you not wanting to do that if you're wiped from the rest of your day. Then the constant task switching is going to be burning more calories as well. And it makes it seem like there's even more things to do and takes even more bandwidth from you mentally. So the idea of having to make, again, like you mentioned, more decisions not only perpetuates more fatigue, it gives you a serious case of the fuck it's like, fuck it, I'm just
Yeah.
going to order Domino's. Like you said,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pack up the kids and you go to a restaurant.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So the plan needs to not lead to that kind of outcome. And a plan that requires too much cognitive load, that increases your day to day cognitive load. Yeah, it makes it harder. I like to say to clients that, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to take some effort at the beginning, but this should feel easier and easier to do with time.
Yeah.
That's the goal of the plan that I create for them. Another kind of general theme that, again, when we dig deeper, turns out to be the case. It's like perfectionism and general mindset, right?
Hmm.
And of course, when we say mindset, we're not talking about like affirmations or positive thinking right now. Although those are fine, not a problem with those. What we're thinking about more of it's this perfectionist mindset that you go into a plan with, and you either don't take action or you stop taking action because you have this set of rules. Maybe it's an unspoken set of rules. Maybe you're not even aware of these rules. But it's things like, if it ain't perfect, it doesn't count. If I can't do it properly, I'm not even going to try. Consistency means perfection. Consistency means 80%, right? And having all of these rules in place, it makes the plan fragile, where not doing one thing perfectly means you stop doing everything. People might think that means they have high standards, but it shows low tolerance. Like, you can't tolerate a little bit of a nudge, something knocking you slightly towards the direction of being off track.
Hmm.
It's too fragile. If one tiny thing breaks, everything breaks. That's a fragile plan.
Yeah. Life is not steady and smooth, and everybody can relate to that. You're constantly adjusting to different inputs, different situations. But this reminds me of a post that I made that, if you'd be willing to let me share here, coach, I can read it out.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you already know how to show up imperfect. You go to work when you slept like shit, don't feel 100%, don't have time. And the gym works the same way. It doesn't require motivation. You've been holding your health to a higher standard than everything else in your life. How many times have the people listening to this gone to work half sick, full sick, half in the bag from the night before, or on no sleep? Like,
Yeah.
you still gave 100% of the available percentage that you had for that day. You still showed up. So that's totally fine when you're looking at it from a career perspective. As a parent, you know that no matter how well you do, you know that you could have always done better, and you're always going to feel guilty that you didn't do the exact perfect thing that made your kid happy.
As a parent of two, that's just 1000% true.
Yeah. So when I got Primo, my cat, I was telling a friend of mine, all these things, and they're like, just understand it's like parenting. It's never going to be good enough for you, and you're always going to feel guilty about it, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
okay, cool.
Totally. Yep.
Uh,
And when the plan feels fragile and you're knocked off track, how do you then feel? You feel overwhelmed. Of course you do.
mhm.
Because you feel behind, you feel like you messed up, and you feel that you need to reset. Yeah. I just got to reset. I'll reset on Monday. Like, how many times have you reset on a Monday? Like, how many times? And just to be clear, this isn't laziness. We mentioned cognitive load earlier on. This is the brain trying to reduce that cognitive load. And that's not a bad thing. Again, as you also said, coach, it's a survival thing. But it does push you towards delay, avoidance, continuing to wait for this like reset every week. And it isn't that it makes you quit, because the only way that you quit is if you just stop trying completely. And that's the only way that you can actually fail. So nobody listening to this has quit or has failed because they listened to a podcast about weight loss. They're half an hour in, right? So you are definitely still in that mindset of trying. You haven't quit, you haven't failed. It's it's making you maybe pause, and it's maybe keeping you stuck in this loop, which is a hard loop to be in, right, coach?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like taking the perspective of the path that you're on is the goal. makes it much more tolerable.
Mm.
Recognizing, okay, what information am I getting as I take this next step? What information am I getting as I take the next step? Being curious about the approach. Like when we all learned at some point how to walk, and at some point you fell over, but you got back up, or else we'd all be crawling around. Let's be real. So being able to not look at that set, like, to, if you feel like you've had some sort of setback, that would imply that at some point you made progress, or else
Mm.
there'd be no setback. So if you take that perspective of it, then you think, okay, well, like, how far back did I set myself back? Okay, well, how far did I go from the last time I checked in? And just having that more positive mindset and association with it too. Like, hey, I'm still putting in, I'm still showing up though, and giving yourself credit for that. I don't think
Yeah.
people give themselves enough credit for effort.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of effort, something that I hear a lot people who are stuck in this loop is, oh, I just got to try harder. I'm like, no, we don't need you to try harder. You're trying hard enough. Okay.
Let's double down on team hard work, dedication. Okay, I couldn't track my food before, so let's actually do keto, focus on macros, and add more to the plan because this bucket's full and we got more room.
Yeah. Trying
What?
harder is not the solution. It's going to keep you in that loop, right? A better thing to say to yourself when you are in that mindset of, I'm trying to be perfect, I've been knocked off track slightly, I'm going to stop trying everything. If you catch yourself there, a good question to ask yourself is, what is one thing, just one thing, that I can do today just to maintain some kind of momentum, just to
Mm.
maintain some kind of forward progress? It could be you go and drink a glass of water. It could be that you have protein and vegetables with dinner. It could be you go for a 5 minute walk, whatever it is. Just one small thing. What one small thing can you definitely do? Then go do it.
You know what this reminds me of that I really appreciate that you do with our clients in the coaching group? Sometimes I'll look at clients' habits. And for some people who are extremely overwhelmed, you have, as a habit tab in the platform that we use, it says 1 minute of mindfulness. And I thought to myself, how simple. Like, can you not take a minute? Don't go to the washroom with your phone. Like,
Yeah,
just simple. Just take a minute. Seriously, a minute. Set a timer
totally.
if you need to.
Yeah. When you're walking down the street, take your AirPods out. Yeah.
Even if you're listening to us.
Yeah, don't do it now. If we listen to us, just wait till the end of this, then you can take them out, okay?
That's so funny.
Yeah. So you got to give yourself a standard that you can actually meet, right? Coach, what is the next theme that we've identified here?
This is
Theme three.
experience and emotion.
Yeah.
This one's heavy.
Tell us about
Yeah.
this, Coach. I feel this is your area, I feel like. Because I listened to your podcast, by the way, episode 1. I'm like, this theme is this is Santo's specialty area. Let's pass this one over to Santo.
Yeah, experience and emotion. Like, this is going to go a bit off topic of just general fitness, health, and wellness stuff. However, we talk about the purpose of life, or we're trying to figure out what all this is for what reason. And the sooner you come to the realization that the emotions you're experiencing is the reason, the easier it is to interact with them in a way that's a little bit more detached. Okay,
Mm.
this is an emotion that's coming in. I'm feeling this. What's making me feel this way? Pulling on that thread and trying to better understand it. Okay, where does that come from? Why do I feel like I'm a failure with this? Well, because I've tried before many times and I've shown myself that I can't do it. Okay, so how do we rethread that thread that you pulled on? Well, you can't rethread it with the same needles that you used. You're going to have to use different ones. And that's taking a different approach. In that, recognizing that you're not lazy, recognizing that you're trying to protect yourself from the discomfort of change. Think of how hard it is to change yourself or change others. And you realize, okay, this is tough because all of the habits and things that you have around you in life, those are also influencing you and your behaviors. So if you, for example, want to get better sleep, continuing to use your phone as an alarm clock and bringing it into your bedroom next to your night table, that's not going to be helpful. You're setting yourself up for failure. We say all the time to people, don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yeah,
Why would you do that? Right? And if you don't have the ability to say no to something once, why would you say no multiple times or set yourself up to have to do that at home? Understanding that those emotions or those feelings don't make you a bad person. We're supposed to experience those things. So feeling stress or guilt or anxiety or exhaustion, those are all signs that you're putting in effort somewhere. Figuring out where that effort needs to get delegated to be aligned with your goals is what's going to determine whether or not you achieve them.
You're kind of stuck in the loop, right, of where you try to do something and it feels good. Then, for any of the reasons that we've gone into today, you stop trying. It falls apart. And that's your experience. You stop trusting yourself. You stop believing in yourself. And you don't try because, well, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain won't let you commit, because the brain remembers what's happened, how it felt,
Yeah.
how good it felt, and also how bad it felt. And the brain wants to protect itself. So it's just not going to let you fully commit anymore.
Having consistency allows your brain, which is a prediction machine, to be at ease because it knows what it can expect. Whenever
Yeah.
there's things like, for example, whenever you're on the highway driving and someone you can see up further ahead is making erratic lane changes, you become upregulated and you think to yourself, okay, I need to be more defensive in terms of my driving to make sure that I stay away from this person. Your heart rate increases, you maybe sweat a little bit, you change states. And it's the same thing when you're in a position where you're trying to change things for yourself too. Things become more challenging. These are all new things that you haven't tried before. So it's going to feel overwhelming. You may not have a food scale on your counter, and now you need to keep a food scale on your counter. And this thing's a pain in the ass because it's getting in the way.
Mm.
So there's all these things that come with that as well that change your environment and make it uncomfortable.
And there's a high emotional load from this, right? Because when you try and fail so many times, there's stress, there's anxiety, exhaustion. And when you're feeling, let's call it emotionally overloaded, you're not going to follow through. You're not going to commit to anything either. And there you go. Like, I know what to do. I just don't do it. Not because you're too busy or you lack motivation or discipline. It's because you have tried and you have failed. And what has happened as a result of that, your brain is trying to protect you from continuing to try.
This reminds me of something you had mentioned in one of the coaching calls that we have weekly in the group. You had mentioned to one of our members, a calorie deficit is also a stress. A
Mm.
workout is also a stress.
Mm.
Reminding yourself that you need to drink more water is also a stress. All these things are stressors as well, right? Like even in like we talk about habit tracking. So maybe that's tracking your nutrition or a particular habit. That in itself is a habit to habit track. And if you haven't done that before, then that's the first habit you need to get used to, right? So you can actually get some data and figure out what am I doing? What does my day look like?
Yeah.
And then from there, plan out what that needs to look like moving forward for yourself too.
And then we have another theme, the fourth theme, identity and self talk. And I guess the labels that we affix to ourselves. Again,
Mm.
coach, I feel like this is a strong area for you. So do you want to kind of like give us some examples of what this might look like?
Yeah, sure. Uh, my immediate thought is relative to like my experience in competitive amateur boxing. If you're losing a fight and someone is beating you and you're losing, you're in a corner, you're getting beat on, the only way out of that corner is to fight back and to throw back. When you're in that corner and you're getting beat on, if you think to yourself, I'm losing, I'm losing, I'm losing, I'm losing, then yeah, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to take some sort of action. If you start saying, you know, all the like words are very important in terms of our perception. So if you tell yourself this plan didn't work or doesn't work, or I don't know how to do this, or I'm inconsistent, I'm garbage because what, like there's this negative self. We can talk to ourselves in more words than we can type or speak per minute. So imagine the amount of dialogue you can run through your head and ruminate in terms of when it comes to negative self talk. One of my coaches had mentioned to me a lot of rumination comes from this place of why conversation. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Prioritizing turning those whys into what's is much more powerful in figuring out what the root of that thing is. So why have I not lost weight? Well, what have I done to lose weight? Why am I not sleeping well? Well, what did I do prior to bed to make myself feel like I got a good night's sleep? Does this track with what you're mentioning here in this theme?
Absolutely, coach. Yeah. I mean, I guess we can summarize it all by saying Don't turn a plan problem into an identity problem,
I love that.
right? You're saying instead of the plan doesn't work, you're saying I don't work.
You're taking it personal.
Yeah. You're saying I'm inconsistent. I'm just bad at this. This is just how I am. And not only are you viewing a plan problem as an identity problem, but it creates a fixed mindset. And a fixed mindset is one that is not conducive to change, to growth. Yeah, I think I wrote this down before, like fixed problems don't invite experimentation.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. I'm just going to read this out.
Yeah.
When you turn a system problem into an identity problem, you run out of options. Most people were never taught how to redesign a plan. They were just taught to try harder. Try harder. Like, isn't that every single one of our like successful clients? And when I say, I mean successful both in terms of like working with us, but also outside of working with us, successful in career, family, right? Academia when they were younger. Try harder, try harder, try harder. Work
Do
longer.
better.
Keep going. Push, push, push. Do better. Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like,
Straight A's.
a lot of people care.
A B is an F. Fuck a B. I'm just going to get straight A's.
If you're not first, you're last.
Exactly. Yeah, all of these things point to the same thing, right? You don't need more motivation or more discipline. You need a plan that fits your life, that doesn't need you to be perfect, that respects emotion and the fact that we have different emotional states throughout the day, and doesn't turn struggle into self-blame. Because there is a difference between blame and taking ownership. I think there's a difference there, right, Coach? Because I think that
Of course.
when we say it's my fault, I'm to blame, to me, there's kind of an unspoken implication that, oh, and we can't do anything about it, just stuck. Whereas if somebody says I'm taking ownership of this, there's a pretty strong implication there that there can be change. They can get themselves out of this situation. But what do you think about that, Coach? Blame versus
This,
ownership.
yeah, this brought up a thought. This is going to be one of my podcast episodes as well about victim versus creator mentality. And it's this concept by, I think his name's Stephen Cartman. I think he's a psychologist or psychotherapist. Anyway, it talks about these two different triangles of sorts. Maybe I've mentioned this before, but at the peak of one triangle is a creator, and at the bottom of one triangle is a victim. So the difference between the two is that a creator owns power to choose and respond and focuses on outcomes, that I can do it, where a victim prioritizes that poor me, feels powerless, your dream is lost, or you've been denied. The other parts of this triangle, from a creator perspective, would be to coach yourself through something. So you get support and assistance. You facilitate clarity by asking certain questions like, okay, how will I do it? Not, I can't do it. On the other side of that triangle, the one that's more victim based, there's like a persecutor, essentially. So this is all about internal dialogue.
Yes.
So you look at the problem that dominates the internal dialogue, you blame, you tear yourself down, you don't do yourself any favors. The last one is on the creator part of the triangle is the challenger. So you call forth that learning and growth, and it provokes action, and it makes you feel conscious and constructive in terms of the challenge you're trying to overcome.
Yeah.
When it comes to the last point of the victim triangle, it's this rescuer, like, oh, poor me, I feel like I'm not being needed, or just this feeling of lack per se. So you can be either one of those, right? You can take that victim approach or that victim mindset, or you can look at something as an opportunity or as a creation, right? Somewhere you can create a new approach. And in that, you realize you have so much power. Like the current circumstance you're in terms of your health, your fitness, your weight loss, or muscle and strength, whatever, you created that. You did that too. Like, you're responsible for that as well. So if you can do that, then why can't you do something else?
Yeah.
You have the ability to make those choices.
This isn't a you problem. This is a plan problem. And I want to make an analogy now that explains a lot about what we've been talking about so far. So as I think you know, Coach, I collect Casio watches.
Yeah.
Right? Mostly for nostalgia. I used to wear them when I was a kid. It's like, back in the 90s, simpler times. Wouldn't overthink things like I do now. just grab my watch, slap it on my wrist, and get on with my day, right? Yeah, I'm wearing this one today. So this watch that I'm wearing now, this Casio, let me put it up to the camera. This cost me like 20 US dollars. Okay. Now I also own this Seiko mechanical dive watch. Now this one costs about 500 US dollars. Okay. So it's an automatic mechanical watch, which means it's powered by the movement of your wrist as you're wearing it. Okay. Now, just for some context, $500 for a watch might seem like a lot, but in the world of like mechanical watches, this is like considered very affordable, very entry level. Like there are collectors who will pay like 10, 20, $30,000, $1,000 for a Rolex, which is also a mechanical watch. Here's why this matters though. This Casio, this $20 Casio, objectively does the job of telling the time better than my Seiko or any expensive Rolex watch. It's more accurate. It doesn't stop if I don't wear it. It doesn't care how busy I've been. It doesn't care if I haven't paid attention to it in a week. It just works, right? Whereas the Seiko is different. So it's mechanical, first of all, which means it is just more delicate. If I drop it, the accuracy can change. It may even stop working if I drop it. Also, if I don't wear it for a few days, it's going to stop running because it's powered by my wrist. Like right now, if I hold this up to the camera, you can see it's not running right now. Right? I haven't worn it since the weekend. So if I want to wear it again, I've got to pick it up. I've got to wind it. I've then got to set the time. I've got to set the date. I've got to set the day. If I'm in a rush, I ain't going to do that. And it's not because I don't like the watch or I don't think it's a great watch, but because in that moment, getting it going again is going to take more time and effort than I'm willing to use. And so this is how a lot of people's plans turn out. Their plans work when everything is in motion. The plans work when nothing is missed. The plans work when life is simple. But life isn't simple. Work gets busy, kids get sick, energy drops, and then the plan stops running, like my Seiko. And it's not that you failed or that you don't care enough. It's that the plan wasn't created for your life. And it just needs too much to get going again. And that's why I keep collecting. It's a nice reminder to keep things simple, to focus on what actually works, and to choose tools that don't require me to be perfect, just consistent. And that is what good plans should feel like. Like low maintenance, easy to get going again, and high tolerance.
I just wrote down here, I like the analogy you have here with your watch because it very simply puts more isn't better, better is more. And when you think of the
Yes.
approach you're taking, most people start at the Seiko, the mechanical watch, right? And there are more components to it. It's more delicate to
Yeah.
not be accurate, to not work properly,
It's
requires more
full
effort.
of tiny springs and gears and cogs. And yeah, it's really complicated, really
Yeah.
complex.
So say you're just getting into watches, okay? You're going to deal with one of those, for example. Okay, this is the equivalent of, you know what? I want to lose 50 pounds this year and I'm going to do it in 4 months, which is not sustainable, by the
Yeah.
way. So I'm going to, right now, I'm currently going to bed at 11, sometimes maybe 1. I get up at 8, sometimes maybe 9, and don't drink any. I have more coffee than water. I don't know what I'm eating. I just kind of make decisions on the fly. I don't work out. I don't know how many steps I get. All these things that go with that. I don't work on any sort of mindfulness, but I'm going to flip the script and do it all at once.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, there's one button on your Casio that maybe just switches from army time to regular time,
Exactly.
and it just put it on and go. And that might be, for some people, that might be start with water. That's your first
Yes.
habit. Okay, so you're going to start with water. What happens when you start drinking more water? Well, you're going to be more hydrated, more mental clarity. You're going to get up to go to the washroom more. You're going to feel less hungry because it reduces your hunger symptoms. You're going to feel like you're making a positive decision for yourself simply by just having more water.
You need a Casio approach to weight loss. It's what you need. So yeah, when someone knows what to do but isn't doing it, it's not like time or consistency. It's not desire. It's not lack of effort. It's, yeah, your plan is asking more of you than you have to give right now.
If you're saying you know what to do, you just don't do it, that means that you don't know what to do.
Yeah. It means you understand the fundamentals. You need a calorie deficit, strength training, steps, protein, vegetables, 80/20. You know the fundamentals. Absolutely. What you don't know how to do is the application.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
You,
I could read a medical textbook. That doesn't make me a doctor. And yeah, you don't need more discipline. You don't need more hard work. The question to ask yourself is, how can this be made easier so that I can keep doing it?
Mhm.
Easier. It's never necessarily going to be easy. Okay. In the same way that your job is not easy. And again, it's not that your job is really hard. You don't go to work thinking, oh, it's going to be a hard day, like every single day that you go. But if it feels like you are constantly making an effort all day, every day, it almost certainly isn't going to last very long.
Yeah, your perception is going to be your reality on that. If you say this is going to
Yeah.
be hard work, then now you're going to find all the areas of like, this is like a confirmation bias. Okay, now I'm going to look for all the things that make it hard. I say
Yeah.
this often where I feel like initially one of my relationship with time is something I've been working on a lot over the last 6 months, where I would often
Mm.
say I don't have time for that. And as soon as I say that to myself, I follow up with there's plenty of time.
And a plan should assume you're busy, right? A
Mm-hmm.
plan should assume that you're tired and that you can't be perfect. There should be flexibility built into it. And the plan should be designed to survive those things, not to collapse under them. And yeah, two people can know the same information, right? As you've said, right? Two people can know what you need to do in terms of you got to be in a calorie deficit, you got to strength train, etc. But the one with the better plan is going to be more successful. So don't ask yourself to find more discipline. Redesign your plan so that it asks for less discipline. So if you're looking for a more sustainable plan than the one that you're following, go back and listen to episode 50, which is where we gave away everything all at once in terms of how to lose weight in a sustainable way. We talked about food, we talked about fitness, we talked about mindset, we talked about recovery. So go back and listen to that one. And that may give you a starting point on what you would need to change or modify or start doing or stop doing when it comes to your own sustainable plan. So I think for people listening, I guess there are three things I'm going to ask you to do now. Number one, just sit with this phrase. I know what to do, I just don't do it. And reflect on it. And think about which parts of this episode have been familiar or uncomfortable. Second is to realize that this is not a personal failure. It's a plan failure. And third, I'm just going to read this because I think it's an important thing for everybody to take away from this. Sustainable progress comes from plans that tolerate imperfection and are easy to return to, not from pushing harder or being stricter, which is exactly what we do with our clients, right, Coach?
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to this all too.
Mm.
Like having some compassion for yourself too, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Giving yourself that space to just be like, hey man, I'm fucking trying. Like even in that itself, like you're actually not trying, you're doing. Like, yeah, I'm doing it. Sure, it's a little clunky along the way. Like Dan, you have kids.
mm.
How often does your eldest want to put on her own jacket and she goes to zip the zipper and it doesn't zip up properly? You look at her and you say, great job, get in the car.
Yeah. Every
Huh?
day this year so far. Yeah,
Yeah, so she got her sleeves on. That's great. It's a
shoes
start.
on the wrong feet. It's fine. Let's go anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, they're on there. Yeah.
Yeah, at least
So
they're
hey,
on.
how about
Yeah,
how about we try this next time? Okay, I'll
yeah,
I'll do that. Give yourself that space to
yeah.
be willing to try and learn, because it's not try and fail. You learn with every attempt, even in the
Yeah.
successful ones too.
Coach Santo, thank you so much for today. Thank you for everybody listening. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're consuming this on. If it's on YouTube, hit that like button. We really appreciate that. Feel free to follow us. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody.